Okay. Well, like I said earlier, thank you so much for joining today's site supervisor training. So this may last a little longer than an hour. Um, like I said, I am recording, so you guys will have a copy of this. I'll get it sent out after Wednesday's training with the other group of site supervisors. That date works better for their schedules. And so I just want to start by saying thanks for taking the time to learn what it means to supervise and support an AmeriCorps member with the Homes for All program and learn a little bit um, about what it takes to enroll the member, how to successfully, um, what it means to successfully complete their year of service and all of those things AmeriCorps wise. So I'll go ahead and get started. I just like to start for those of you that I haven't had a chance to meet yet, but will be soon. I'm Holly. I'm our program director. I've listed my email address. At this point, you guys probably have that, and then my direct phone number to my office. So that is the number that you can call me, or you can also text that number. Um, those are the best ways to get in touch with me. This is my little family. So when I'm not working, these are the people that I'm with, spending lots of time running around and chasing my kiddos. Um, Something else about me, I actually served 2 years in this program in Richmond, Kentucky, about 10 years ago. So this program means a lot to me. I do have a background in working with survivors of domestic violence, helping them with those court proceedings, and also working with families who are involved with child protection social services. And then I made my way back to HHCK. So that's a little bit about me. Um, for almost really anything AmeriCorps wise with our program throughout the year, I'll be your main point of contact. We typically have a member coordinator that works with me, but with the way that funding worked out this year, that is a position that we're not able to fill this program year. We're optimistic that hopefully next grant cycle, we will be able to offer that member coordinator. So for you, for anyone at your organization and your member, I'll be the main point of contact this year. So we'll dive right on in and go into how to say AmeriCorps. I know it looks like corpse, but it is like Marine Corps, Corps of the Earth, Apple Corps, Peace Corps. It's just got some extra letters, but I think it's always a great way to start with just knowing how to pronounce AmeriCorps. Um, an overview of what AmeriCorps is. So it is a federally funded national service program. AmeriCorps has been around since 94. Um, our program and the 19 other Kentucky AmeriCorps programs are supported by Serve Kentucky. They are housed in the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. And we are assigned program officers, so they help us support our members and our programs. They are the individuals that we're talking to when there's a switch up or change in funding, or scheduling when it comes to funding. All of those important questions we're communicating with our Serve Kentucky staff. Homes for All, we're the only program in Kentucky that is primarily focused on housing and homelessness. So our goals for this upcoming program year, we're hoping that 800 individuals are served or provided services to. And of that 800, we are hoping that 300 of them successfully transition or maintain their housing. We have some different categories of types of AmeriCorps positions. So some of our partner sites host a construction member, or they may host a housing services member, or we may have sites that host homeless service members. So our housing services members, they could be helping individuals do that housing counseling or lending department, or with rental. Um, our homeless services members, they could be working with landlords, maybe trying to recruit landlords to partner with the permanent supportive housing program that that organization offers, maybe providing street outreach or eviction prevention, to just name a few. And then construction, they could be helping with either new home builds or repair projects with that organization. I think that it's important to kind of know the different types of positions that we have all under the Homes for All program, just so you know that like what your members doing with your organization could be something different than another member out in Paducah. We do have different terms of service. So before I get into the different types of slot types, I'm sorry, I need to backtrack. So our program year, though, is September 1st until August 31st of 2016, or sorry, 2026, sorry. So our program year has been running for like the last 5 years from August 1st to July 31st, but because of the delays in funding, it has been pushed back. Also, because of the delays in funding and the cuts to federal funding, we have different hour positions than we typically do. So back in the spring, you probably remember or reviewed the partner site application that your organization submitted to our office. We typically have full-time and half-time positions, but just based on the funding that we were able to secure, the 1,700 hour positions were for our returning members. So if a site had a member that was going to be returning, we were able to offer them that 1,700 hour position. After that, our positions had to change to 1,200 and 900 hour positions. So we'll go into detail about the hour requirement, the living allowance, and everything like that. I just wanted to kind of give an explanation, though, as to why there were some changes to our program structure than in previous years. This is just a list of our partner sites for the upcoming year. And we're really excited to see what this next year has in store for all of us. And I think it's a very important year as well to really show the impact of what our AmeriCorps members are doing across the state with your organizations. Next, we'll dive into some of the service language that you will use when talking about the AmeriCorps program and the member. So the person that's serving in the AmeriCorps position is the AmeriCorps member. So they're not a volunteer, they're not an intern, they're not an employee. They are in this unique role as an AmeriCorps member. The time that they are serving at your organization is called their term of service. So the full term of service is September 1st to August 31st of 2026. Sometimes members start after that September 1st start date. So their term of service could be, September 15th to August 31st. Um, all of the paperwork that your member reviews and signs will have their start date and the end date of the program year on it so that there's no confusion for how long this position lasts. The support that they receive every other week from our program while serving is called a living allowance. So it's not called a paycheck. It's not like an hourly rate. We call it the living allowance. And again, it's a benefit to serving in an AmeriCorps position. So we never use words like hire, work, intern, or employee. So I think that that's helpful. We also talk to our supervisors about this so that it becomes more fluid in the way that you're speaking about an AmeriCorps position, and also to help your member. If this is a new partnership, not only with your organization and with HHCK, it's likely that it's the first time that your member has maybe heard of AmeriCorps. And so we just want to make sure that language is being used all around. Next, we'll go into partnering with Homes for All. So my role and HHCK's role in this partnership, so at the program level, I'm making sure that we are in compliance with our federal grant and all of the regulations that come along with that. So if there's any changes or anything like that, I'm the one that will communicate that information to you as the site supervisor, or others that like to be in conversations at your organization that also may have some involvement in the partnering with the AmeriCorps program. I complete all of the background checks for your member to make sure that they are cleared and can start on their first day of service. I help train and orient the members on all of our program policies and standards of conduct. I'm here to provide support to you and your members. I'm going to encourage some member development through the year. And then I'm also going to be reporting on our program goals and your members' progress to serve Kentucky and also AmeriCorps at the federal level. So there may be times during the program year that I reach out and may need you. I always use timesheets as an example, but it is because we have to submit a report to our program officer on member time. So, I may nudge you for timesheets to be reviewed. And there also may be times where maybe I haven't received the reports that your member needs to be submitting. So I may reach out to get a little nudge to help get that information so we can show the impact in the individuals that the members serving in your community. In partnership with you, we're going to make sure that your member is eligible and enrolled to begin service. So what that means is when we are in that onboarding and enrollment phase, I'm going to be letting you know when that person's start date is going to happen. So if for some reason there's a background check that's taking longer than expected, we may have to change their start date to, September 15th or, something like that. But you'll be in communication with me and the member to make sure that everybody's just on the same page when it comes to that. In partnership, we're going to supervise and mentor your members. Sometimes this is a person's first experience in a professional setting. So, you want to help shape them and learn kind of what it means to be, a professional in this type of work and service environment. We always want to guarantee the member safety. And then lastly, support the goals of the Homes for All AmeriCorps program. So some of your service sites role and key responsibilities over the next year. We hope that you're providing quality supervision to your member. We hope that the tools and supplies that are needed to be successful in the position are offered. So making sure that they have an office space to complete service forms or intake forms or other important paperwork, just as an example, for their role. Other equipment, technology, access to internet, if that is part of their position. We hope that you are supporting with the data collection and the performance measure reporting. We train our members on performance measure reporting, and we'll talk a little bit about it later on in today's training as well. But it really, being able to work in some time in your member's schedule to complete that performance measure reporting really sets them up for success. Sorry. Communicate regularly with me. So if, for example, an issue comes up and you're maybe not sure how to approach the situation, I'm always here to talk, brainstorm ideas on, ways to approach that situation, because it could be different. It just could be different. And it's always just nice to hear someone else's point of view and perspective on ways to kind of put some actionable items for that member to do. I think that it's just important to work together. If for some reason, like someone decides that they're done serving, that's like worst case scenario, obviously. Just contact me regularly so I'm staying in the loop. As you saw some previous slides before, we are partnering with organizations all across the state. So for me to be there every day just obviously isn't possible, but I'm always here, just a phone call away or a text to talk. And same for your members. We want to make sure that your member has plenty of opportunity to complete their term of service and that required hours. So I know the screen says 37 and a half. That's for a 1,700 hour position. The hours for a 1,200 hour position and a 900 hour position, if they were to start on August 1st or early September, would obviously adjust. After the program year starts, then we would look at a increase in the weekly hour for a 1,200 hour or 900 hour position, but we'll get into all of that in a little bit as well. But we just want to make sure that one, the site and the supervisor, like there, and the member, there's just clear communication on what that member's schedule is. So if they are supposed to be serving 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, there's no discrepancies in between that. So they know exactly when they're needed to be there. They know how to handle or communicate with their site supervisor if something were to come up and they're sick when they wake up one morning. We just want to make sure that's all handled the way that your organization handles those types of things. Okay. Recruitment and finding a member. So I know I sent out a recruitment PDF. I feel like that, gosh, that feels like years ago because things have changed so much in the federal world of grants. Um, but I will say our position, or I'm sorry, our program, it's live on the My AmeriCorps site. So if we have any general applicants, we will send them your way. Um, they are also live on Kentucky Nonprofit Network. I did not put them on Indeed yet, but I will be working to do that if you indicated in your site application and you're still recruiting. Um, when a general applicant comes in, I will screen them to make sure they understand that this is not an employment opportunity and that it is a service opportunity, and explain the program in summary of what the next year would look like. If it's something that the person is interested in, I will then forward it on to the site supervisor. When you are advertising, you want to make sure, you're sharing information about our program. So what the members will be doing on a regular basis, the hour requirement tied to the position, the program year, if health insurance is an eligible benefit for that type of position, things like that. I think that it's really good to incorporate the questions on their recommendation PDF form that was sent out with the recruitment guidance. I think it's great to incorporate those questions because a lot of those questions are the same ones that I'm asking like general applicants to. I think it's the best way to see if this is something that someone is interested in, or if they're just kind of looking for something to do until an employment opportunity opens up. I know I've sent out this in an email, but I'll say it again too. For a September 1st start, I would need that person recommended to me by, oh, that's a typo, by August 30, by August 13th. Sorry, guys. We do know that there have been challenges and will be challenges when it comes to recruitment. The benefits could be a barrier again, especially if it is an individual who is looking for or searching for full-time employment. That's not necessarily the case for this AmeriCorps service position. Something I like to share with individuals that I've talked to that are just like a general applicant. This may not be a full-time employment opportunity right now, but sometimes it can lead to that. Doesn't necessarily have to be with the site. It could be with another organization that's doing similar work, or it could help guide them into another field or offer another opportunity for them in their future. Sometimes ghosting also happens. It happens a lot. I feel like it happens more when I'm trying to communicate with applications or resumes that I get on Indeed. I don't know if that's other organizations' experience through Indeed. Like I may get a lot of resumes and people interested in a position, but then when it comes to actually like reaching out one-on-one to that individual, I don't get anything back in response to the position. So I don't know if that's other people's experience with using online job websites. Your more than welcome to also share some other challenges that you may have experienced if you are a returning site, and maybe you're seeing something new or I haven't mentioned. Um, I'm happy to hear that from you guys as well. Um, this is just an idea for what to include when you are using maybe your social media channels, or maybe you're putting a post in a newsletter that's going out. You just want to make sure that you are, again, referring to the position as an AmeriCorps position. The person serving will be the AmeriCorps member. You want to make sure that you're listing the correct living allowance amount, the education award amount, and what benefits may be eligible for that position, and then who they should send their resume to for that for the position that you are recruiting for. A few years ago, AmeriCorps filmed a YouTube ad, so I shared it as well. If that's something that you would like to share on your social media, when also trying to recruit, it's a really, I feel like it really gets the point across of how impactful a year of service can be for someone in just a very short amount of time. So it could be another way to catch someone's attention. And then, as you're preparing that post, write a little bit about those benefits. So the living allowance amount, or, you know, having a chance to earn money towards future education expenses, things like that. So when I send out the slides, you'll have access to the link as well. Next, we will get right into the paperwork and enrollment part of this process. So it's the first thing after you have recommended a person to us for your position. We'll start the paperwork process. So I'll set up a call with the individual or individuals and talk to them again about the program at large, making sure that they understand the requirements and just, what the next year will look like. And then I will follow up in an email. I always ask if that's a good way to communicate. And we will start with our Google form application. If the person hasn't filled that out, that's what we'll do first. We have already started sending out the Signwell electronic paperwork packet. So if you are a site that's already recommended someone to us, or you have a member that is returning, their paperwork has already been sent to them. Once I get the paperwork back, I then will process the paperwork, make sure that everything is filled out correctly. If there's any hiccups, I'll work with the person to get that cleared up and resent if need be. And then I'll start running background checks. So after I get through site supervisor training with just kind of having the break in between the program years, I'll start running those background checks. So we have to complete a fingerprint-based FBI check. We have to do an NSOPW or sex offender registry check, and a state of service or a state of residence if that person lives outside of Kentucky. So the onboarding process can take anywhere from 7 to 10 days. It really depends on the communication back and forth between me and your candidate. Sometimes that can be really great. Sometimes that may be spotty. So it really just depends. It also depends on the vendors that we have to use to run these background checks. They may be very busy running background checks for other AmeriCorps programs that are also starting in September. So, if I haven't heard from a member in a couple of days, I'm probably going to reach out to them by text or by making a phone call, and just making sure that what I've sent them didn't go to their spam folder or anything like that. I'll also update you as the site supervisor on where we're at in that process, just so you guys can make the arrangements to make sure that they have the supplies and the space needed for their first day of service. Um, After the paperwork and background checks are completed, I then send an enrollment to them in the My AmeriCorps account. So I send them instructions on how to create their My AmeriCorps account. It has to be completed within 5 days of them starting service. Um, we've got to make sure that we stay compliant with that. I think some important things to know as well is the first day of service is the first day that they can serve hours. So this year, Labor Day is September 1st. So if you're, or so Labor Day is a holiday that our program observes. If for some reason your member is going to be serving on September 1st, please let me know. Just shoot me an email, and let me know that their first day of service is going to be September 1st. If I don't hear from you, then you will know that their first day of service will be September 2nd, given if the person has been cleared to start service on that day. So all of what I've been talking about is done and completed. But I just wanted to mention that because I was making the yearly calendar and was like, Labor Day is the first day of the service year. Another important thing to know for enrollment, the last day to start a 1,200 hour member will be December 8th. So most of our positions are 1,200 hour. And so that's why I'm sharing that information. If your member starts on or around December 8th, like if you're still recruiting after the program year starts, and you really want to recruit and find a person to serve as an AmeriCorps member, I would need that person recommended to me at least 2 weeks before December 8th. And you're looking at that person serving in a full-time capacity. So anywhere between 37 and a half to 40 hours a week to make sure that they complete that 1,200 hour requirement by the end of the program year, which will remain August 31st. It won't change even if the member starts after the program year starts. And I already mentioned it can take anywhere between 7 to 10 days to get a person cleared to start. Okay, next we'll go into member orientation and talk about things to consider before your member starts. So if you are a new site, maybe you have a staff meeting coming up before the member's first day, and you want to explain what Homes for All is and what your members' role and what they're going to be doing over the next year, to the other staff or volunteers that may be working alongside your member. If your member needs business cards, supplying business cards with the AmeriCorps logo, if you're able to. Some sites create an email address for their AmeriCorps members so that service-related communications go to that email and not their personal. We ask that you check in with your member frequently beforehand. So just making sure that they maybe have directions, to the office. Do they know where to park? So, like, for example, at HHCK, we don't have like a parking lot. We're in downtown Frankfort, and parking is 2 hours. And then there's like two streets that there's no hour limit. So, explaining that, if that's part of the directions to your site, I think it's explaining the expectations on the first day. So, again, making sure they know what their schedule is going to be, when they should be there. If you have any questions on things that you would like to, or that you're thinking about for your member, and making sure that they feel comfortable on that first day, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Service site orientation. So obviously this is going to look different from site to site, because you guys are all doing different services for your communities. But again, if you have the ability to maybe do a facility tour, making sure the member knows where like office equipment is, introducing them to the staff around the office, what or where lunch occurs. So maybe you have a room, or a room like a break room or a conference room or kitchen area that people use to take a break or eat their lunch. Other, housekeeping items. I know I mentioned parking, kind of how the mail works, phones, emails, keys, that, those types of things. Anything else that your site does for new staff or volunteers that are going to be with you long term. And then you want to dive into position training. So helping them understand how to complete their responsibilities and their tasks that they're going to be doing over the next year. Maybe that involves shadowing you or others at your organizations on how to complete an intake, whether it's a phone intake or an in-person intake, how to handle the process for people who may be coming in for street outreach supplies or bus tickets. So all of those different things that they're going to be doing over the next year. So maybe you have a daily agenda for them so that they kind of know each day what they're going to be discussing, whether it's doing some readings or trainings independently or working with you, or a little bit of both. Just making sure that they start to feel comfortable with what they're going to be doing. We, as part of the the site supervisor manual, there is a member and site expectation agreement. It is required. It is something that I like to have on file for all of our members so that we know that, how HDA handles scheduling vacation days, or how to call, how you tell your supervisor that you're sick and you need to take a sick day. So like things like that, like all of that is outlined clearly, so that if for some reason there is a hiccup with the member's schedule or service abilities, there we can start by looking there, and then provide any type of mediation that we need to. So in summary, that first month, we hope that your member is doing some trainings and readings. And if you have any like reoccurring meetings, Zooms, or in-person meetings that the member is going to be attending as well, that you link them in. If you guys utilize like Google Calendar, or if you're a Microsoft organization, making sure they have what they need to make sure that those meetings will be attended, and they'll be there. Next, so we like to give members, if they've started anywhere in September, we like to give them some time to get adjusted at their site, just to feel a little bit more comfortable. And then we used to do a more than one, like a couple of days worth of training. Unfortunately, that's not going to be able to happen this year, but I am going to have our members be with us at least for one day. It will be a full day. So, logistics and everything like that, lodging, I will figure, like, all of that will be coordinated with our office. It will be in Frankfurt, but again, if your member needs a hotel stay the night before, check-ins for hotels usually 3 or 4 o'clock. So you should be able to anticipate that they'll serve, and then commute down to Frankfurt the night of the 24th, and then they'll be with me all day on Thursday, September 25th, and then drive home the evening of the 25th. So mileage reimbursement, meals, lodging, that will all be provided by Homes for All. Some of the things that we'll talk about is just an overview of AmeriCorps, understanding what this year looks like, our policies and procedures, prohibited activities, some team building activities, and housing and homelessness in Kentucky. That training is done by Adrian, our executive director here at HHCK. And then I'm going to be utilizing our virtual member meetings that happen throughout the year, to incorporate some of those other trainings that we typically do at our orientation, so that that professional development is still happening. It's just happening in a different setting. Okay, we'll move right on into the service year. If there's one thing that you get from this training, I hope it is the fact that our program year is September 1st through August 31st. Depending on if your member is returning, they would be a 1,700-hour position, and then the other positions are 1,200 and 900. The members' weekly schedule will be determined between you, the supervisor, and the member. So if you have recommended a person to our site, that's one of the questions that I ask is, has the supervisor or the people that you've interviewed discussed your weekly schedule? And majority of the time they say yes, which is great. So they already know, they're not kind of out there thinking that this is going to be, something else. I know it also says must account for approximately 37 and a half hours per week. Again, that's for full time. If your member is a 1,200-hour and 900-hour member, and they start at the beginning of the program year, so if you have a 1,200-hour member that starts on September 2nd, they will likely be serving anywhere between 30 and 35 hours a week. And they would have until August 31st to finish that. Again, your members can end service before August 31st, meaning they can complete their hours. I think that that's something that if you are a site that is thinking about that, everyone is upfront and understands what their specific term of service is going to be. So like for example, if your member's starting September 2nd and you want them to finish by May 31st, just making sure that I know and the member knows so that we understand what and how many pay periods will be in that person's term of service, and so on. But again, I know that's a very specific example. That's not always the case, but if for some reason it is, we're all just in communication about that. Going on to other things that are built into your member's term of service is their leave. So returning members should already know this, but they have 10 personal, 10 sick days. Every member, no matter what their position, our requirement is that we do observe 11 holidays in the year. So the reason why we talk so much, or you may hear me talk so much about the weekly hour amount that your member serves, it's because these personal and sick days are built into their schedule. So it's not like they have 10 days that are going to go towards that hour requirement. But if they stay on track, they'll be able to take time off. Obviously, you cannot help it when you get sick. That's unpredictable. But they have the ability to have that time off and not feel so stressed about meeting that hour requirement. So it's not like if they take a personal day, they're going to get 7.5 hours towards their 1,200-hour requirement. It is just simply a day off. It's built into their schedule, and same for holidays. Sites can't require a member to serve on a holiday. A member can choose to serve on a holiday. So I think the majority of us all observe the same holidays though. Next is our member benefits. So the living allowance for the 1,700-hour position is 20,400. So our returning members, that's what they will receive. That's the amount that will be split between the 26 pay periods in the program year. 1,200-hour members, it's 14,280. 900, it's 10,200. I've listed the education awards for the three positions that we have available. They'll also receive professional development. If they're serving in a full-time capacity, they may be eligible for health insurance that's paid by HHCK. So we pay the premium. The member would not see anything withheld from their living allowance. Or if they lose their health care coverage during their term of service and they're serving in a full-time capacity, then we'll be able to sign them up on our plan and make sure that they have coverage during their year of service. So, for example, if you have a 1,200-hour member that's serving in a full-time capacity, they may be eligible for healthcare insurance. Child care assistance, that's through AmeriCorps at the federal level. We have a form in our enrollment paperwork just to make sure that we know who we need to send that information to if they're interested in applying for child care assistance through AmeriCorps during their term of service. We have a workers' compensation policy. Members, when they are enrolled, they can request that their federal student loans be placed into forbearance. So it's the loan holders, it's at the discretion of the loan holder. So it may take a few times for that request to be accepted, but it could help offset a payment that the member has been making. But after it gets approved, they wouldn't have to make that, $100 payment or whatever during their term of service with AmeriCorps. And then we will be offering a member assistance program. This is through America's Service Commission, but it is free to the member. It's also free to the member's household. Yeah, so if your member has a son who needs is interested in mental health counseling, it would be eligible for that, the member's son. And again, it's at no cost to the member or the household member. So we're really excited to offer that. That's just one of the services that's provided through the member service. Um, the member assistance program. The mental health counseling, it is virtual. So it's not like, you don't have to go in person. They would be connected to a counselor, a licensed professional to, yeah, so let's see, what's another thing that they offer? Life coaching. They may be able to provide some legal information. Maybe they can help with some debt if that's something that a person has questions about. Medical debt is an example I'm thinking of. So again, it's free for the member and household members. The member position description, this is separate from the enrollment packet that's sent to your member. So it's one of the last steps that is completed before a person is completely cleared for service. If you think back to the partner site application, there was a link to our allowable service activities. So that is 90% of the person's service. So 90% of what they're doing will be happening with you on site with your organization. We like to just kind of use the same language on our position descriptions. It just looks more clean. AmeriCorps likes it, so that's what we do. And then we keep 10% of the position description for any trainings or events that we may be offering throughout the year for your members to join us, time for your member to do the reporting that is required for the position, and just making sure they have time to communicate with our office. It also has the minimum eligibility. It has the minimum requirements and then essential functions for the position. So basically in your all's application, you create the position description and then I tailor it on our template and then I will send it to you, the site supervisor, and the member to sign. It will also have their start date and end date on it, and it will list you as the site supervisor, their living allowance, education award, and all of that. So some of it is repetitive, but I don't think that that's a bad thing. Another responsibility for supervising an AmeriCorps member is timesheets. Our members submit their timesheets weekly. There is a phone app for members to submit their timesheets to you. We just ask that you are logging into your account and reviewing and approving timesheets at least twice a month. So, reviewing and approving timesheet, 2 weeks worth of timesheets twice a month. Oh, I guess I forgot to add this on the slide. We use for our new site supervisors, I will create an account for you. We use a system called America Learn. So it's created just for AmeriCorps programs to make sure that we're compliant with our AmeriCorps regulations at the federal level. So as it gets a little bit closer to the program year, And we've got your member set up where we will also set you up an account. But the screenshot that you see shows you kind of what you will see. Some of it may look a little bit different. Now, this is an older screenshot, but it will at least show you that, you know, you have some timesheets to approve. And you should also get an email after after your member submits their timesheets. Sometimes that doesn't happen. I don't necessarily know the rhyme or reason. It just must be a hiccup or something that needs to be updated on America Learns End. I know at the beginning of the PowerPoint, I talked about what our program goals are for the year. So we're hoping to serve at least 800 individuals as a program. And of those 800 individuals, we hope that 300 transition into or maintain their housing. And so how we get that information from your members is through what we call our service forms or our performance measures. So there are two fillable PDFs that your member will be trained on how to complete, but we also think it's important to share this information with our supervisors because we do ask that you review them, ask questions, incorporate it into your check-ins with your members. So the first form, it asks for the number of individuals served. So it's going to ask for the household size and demographics. It doesn't ask, we do not ask for any identifying or confidential information. If your organization uses a certain system that generates, a case number or something like that to tie to that specific household, your member can use that same identifying number. Or they can create their own. We're never going to ask for names, anything like that. When they are identifying how many people are in the household, they're just going to put like adult 1, child 1. There's not any information. We do ask for birth date or age. Again, you can't really tie that to specific individuals. That information does not get shared with AmeriCorps. So just letting sites know that as well. On the second form, if the person transitions into housing or if their rent was paid to maintain their housing, there's what we call step 2. So you would you would likely keep this on file at your site, and you would check off on the form the proof of housing or the construction that was completed for that household. On that step 2 form, we call it like the wrap-up form if they're housed. That's the only time members do that second form. And then on that second form, we do ask our site supervisors to sign, just giving that, someone else from the organization has reviewed and knows who the member is reporting on to our for our program. If your member's position has or will be working with volunteers, they will do a monthly volunteer form. So they'll put the number of volunteers, if it's episodic or reoccurring, and then the number of hours for that month. If it's a group, they can literally put, I don't know, Frankfurt High School group as an example. We don't ask for names. If they want to put the person's initial, they can, they can make identifying names for the volunteers as well. Some more information about reporting. It is the member's responsibility. We ask that our members send us their reporting forms by the 15th of the month for the previous month. So November 15th would be the due date for October performance measures. So any individual that your members served or worked with during the month of October. Our responsibility, like I mentioned, we will do a training on how to complete the service forms for us when they are due, answer any questions that they may have. And then, this will be an ongoing conversation that I'll be having with your members as the year goes on. It may be during a site visit, it could be during a one-on-one check-in. They're going to get several reminders. Actually, they're going to get a reminder every month that if they haven't sent us a performance measure reporting, to please do so. We hope that you support our efforts to get this data from your member. It is very vital for our program to exist in the future. We hope that you are providing some time for the member to do this regularly. So as I mentioned, with that 90% of service tasks, we do have that 10% for trainings that they may have with us and time to do their performance measure reporting. And if there's any missing data, specifically if a member exits, I may ask you if you could send me, the number of individuals that your member worked with the month that they served, or the month that they exited, so that we at least can include that important information in our reporting. Next, we'll talk about member development. Give me just one sec. I'm going to take a drink of water. Okay, so the purpose of our member development component of our grant is our hope to make individuals or strengthen an individual's civic engagement and their mindset around that. We hope that they continue serving their communities in other capacities, or maybe service with AmeriCorps again after their year with us. There will be some goal setting and reflections, and there are 4 components of our member development. So MLK Day is not a day off for AmeriCorps, it is a day on. So hopefully we will have some service projects going on throughout the state on that day. We will have a spring service project, and that's typically a construction activity. We will have a homeless services activity. Majority of the time for that, members are actively involved in their street count or K count in their communities. And then a public speaking activity. We go into more detail with our members, but I think that it's important for our site supervisors to know in case your members say, hey, this is what I need to be working on, or for example, our spring service project, for 2 days, your member's not going to be on site. They will be with us at a different partner site organization, either doing repair work or new construction or whatever other type of construction the site needs us to help with. Other trainings, I know I mentioned this, but every month, well, most of the months of the program year, we will do a monthly member training, and it will fall on the 15th of each month. If the 15th falls on a weekend, obviously we will schedule it for the next day. So We like to include any program updates. If there's a special topic, we will include that. Um, and then we go into that professional development. So Kentucky Fair Housing, they are generous and they do their fair housing training every year for our members. We could be doing healthy boundaries. Family Scholar House did trauma-informed care for our members this past year, maybe leadership. It could be, we like to kind of think outside of the box when it comes to some professional development opportunities for members. Oh, we did a training on digital etiquette because that's so, I don't, when we use technology every day, and what that kind of looks like for them, and how they could strengthen that or build on their skills when it comes to digital etiquette, either throughout their term of service or even after. Um, in October, there will be a virtual training. It's called the Kentucky AmeriCorps Accelerator. That is hosted and put on by Serve Kentucky, which is our state service commission. And that is required for all AmeriCorps members in Kentucky to participate. Again, it will be virtual, so I'll have those dates for your members as it gets closer to the beginning of the program year. Just waiting on Serve Kentucky to release that date for us to share out. We will have fall site visits, so I'll come out and visit you and your member, and catch up and check in with how the first quarter of their term has been going. And then if we need to have an in-person or another site visit in the spring, we can definitely do that as well. It's just more on an as needed basis. AmeriCorps Week is always in March. So when that's released, we'll be celebrating our members. I'll send out information to our sites with how to celebrate your members as well. And I'm still going to do our end of year training in July. You know, in the spring, we'll definitely have those dates nailed down. But the reason for having it in July is I'm hoping that we will get back to having an August 1st start date. Yeah, that's my hope. So we'll have it a little bit earlier this year or next year. Sorry. Okay, we'll move on to member supervision and support. I know we've kind of went over this already, but just making sure that your member is getting a comprehensive training to help them be successful throughout their year of service. We want you to review all relevant policies and procedures from your site before they start serving people directly, so that there's just no gray areas. I think that that's important to have. I think it's important to have a hard copy of that. We hope that you dedicate time to meet with your AmeriCorps member each week. If especially during the beginning part of their term of service, if they're a new member, and again, I know I've mentioned this could be their first time in a more professional setting. So I think it just really helps structure the members' year. Maybe that could taper off, maybe, twice a month as the year goes on, whatever, works. But I really hope that you can dedicate some time to meet with them one-on-one, every week when they're first getting started into the position. You're going to serve as their supervisor, a coach, and a mentor. I talked about approving timesheets. There will be 2 member evaluations completed twice a year. So one in their mid part of their service term and then one at the end. And the reason why there are 2 member evaluations is because it's required by AmeriCorps, and it's required in order for them to be eligible to receive that education award. So if we get audited by AmeriCorps for, a specific member, they're going to pull the evaluations to make sure that we have them, and that they should have received that education award. If there's any changes to supervision, notify me so we can communicate with the new supervisor, and get them, up to speed on what it means to supervise a Homes for All member, and just communicate with me regularly. I know I talked about evaluations a little bit. There are 2 components of the evaluation. So if you're a returning site, you know what this is. But the first part is the program performance. So you'll see on the evaluation that we send out, I'll send it out in the wintertime. Part 1 is an overview of like the number of hours in their term of service, what their average, or what their weekly average is to finish, how many households they've reported on, are their timesheets up to date, and then some questions about there's just like their performance at that point in the year. And then the second portion is the site supervisor portion, which is what you would complete with your member. You have space to provide any comments, and list 2 areas of growth for that member. And then your member also has space to provide any comments that they would like to share. We, how can organizations help and develop and support members? So it could be in a formal way. So having your members participate in training. So if your organization registers for Kentucky Housing Corporation trainings, allowing your member to also attend those. Any other professional development opportunities, of course, staff meetings, and retreats, if that's something that your organization holds for the organization. Informal ways could be your weekly check-ins, having an open door policy, obviously with boundaries and restrictions. So like, your member knows when you are available for that open door policy or type of communication. And again, having this mentorship with your candidate. Some other information about member support. So there is a maximum amount that an AmeriCorps member or a person enrolled in a program can receive. And I wanted to make sure if this is a benefit that your site is looking to offer an increase to the members' living allowance, you don't exceed that maximum amount for that position. So the maximum for a 1,700 hour is 40,800. Maximum for 1,200 is 28,560. The maximum for 900 is 20,400. Which we'll talk a little bit more about living allowance increases in a little bit. But later on in the week, if this is a benefit that you are wanting to do for your member and the position to maybe make it more appealing for recruitment, if your organization has the financial ability to do that, I will be sending out the living allowance increase forms. So you know the math to do to make sure that we get the appropriate amount before your member starts so that we can add it to payroll and make sure that they get it every pay period. Other ways that you could support a member, if you have the ability to offer rent or mortgage assistance, if as long as the assistance does not go directly to the member, it can be provided to the property manager, the landlord, the loan holder. Some of our sites offer that assistance, to a member that's served or has agreed to serve a second year. You can offer food and gifts. So, like food, if you are at an organization that gives out food boxes or provides a meal daily to participants, you could offer that to your members as well. Clothing, promotional items with your agency's logo on it, and just having that ongoing training. I know so many of our members talk so highly about the opportunities for training and professional development when they're with your organizations. And so I think that's just a vital support that I don't want to say gets overlooked, but it's definitely one that members really appreciate, because it is a way that they can continue in this professional setting, either, at the organization if they were to get hired on, or at another organization or company after, their year or years of service. We just ask that if you have more than one member, that you are fair and equitable in the support that you provide the members that are serving with you. If you have ideas specific to your organization and things that other support that you may want to provide to your member, you're more than welcome to email me or call me and we can talk about it. Next up is key policies and procedures. So if you are a returning site, you have a beautiful prohibited activities poster that was provided by Serve Kentucky. Basically, the guidelines for the prohibited activities, it's really to ensure that your member remains focused on service and avoids any conflicts of interest. So in summary, when your member is serving as an AmeriCorps member in the Homes for All program at partnership housing, they cannot do these prohibited activities. So a lot of it is geared towards political activities, religious activities, or training volunteers to do prohibited activities is not an allowable activity either. So just throwing that out there. I will give you guys a few minutes to read through this slide, and then I will let you read through the second slide as well. But like I said, in summary, these are activities that a member can do as a private citizen. They just cannot be charging time towards their hour requirement or wearing the AmeriCorps logo or your organization's logo or HHCK's when doing so. So if they're planning on going to a peaceful protest, please just remind them not to choose their AmeriCorps hoodie that they're going to get at orientation. Oops. Okay. sorry. Um, our state service commission is requiring site supervisors to complete 2 trainings before their members start service. If you were a supervisor last year and you completed this, you don't have to do it again. I should already have the certificate on file. If I don't, I'll reach out to you individually. The prohibited activities training, it's online. It takes about 45 minutes. Um, I will send instructions by the end of the week with my summary email on how to set up your account for our new supervisors or previous supervisors that may have not completed it. Once you complete the training, you get that completion certificate and you can email it to me. It's just a one-time training that we need to keep on file. And same for AmeriCorps 101. It's just a very intro level of what AmeriCorps is and what it's here to do for our communities. Again, if you're a returning supervisor and you completed it last year, I don't need you to complete it again. It's about the same, takes about the same time to complete it. And you'll get that certificate of completion at the end as well. Again, I just need these completed if you haven't by when your member starts. If you want to know why, one, it's very helpful information. And two, it's part of like our compliance and desk review. So the certificates are important. And it'll give you more insight than just information on the Homes for All program. I think teleservice, this is the federal agency's updated policy that we follow. So no more than 10% of hours allocated can be allocated to teleservice. So I just broke it down for each position type. So 170 for full-time, 120 for 1200, and 90 for 900. So your members should be on site the majority of their service. So that's just something to keep in mind. If for some reason teleservice were to get brought up at any point in the year, of course, loop me in, but it can't be more than 10 hours. Transportation and mileage. It is very important to make sure that your member understands what the transportation expectation is. If you can provide mileage reimbursement, if they are doing client transport or home visits in their personal vehicle, I think that's just best practice. And same for like keeping a copy of their valid driver's license and auto insurance on file if that is going to be part of their position. If it's not, that's probably best. But if for some reason your member is going to be driving clients to doctor's appointments or benefit appointments, I'm sure your organization already has a policy and procedure in place. These are just helpful tips for AmeriCorps members as well. AmeriCorps branding. If you're a new site, we'll be sure to send you a little AmeriCorps sign. So I'll get that sent out to you soon, within the next month. I know during the recruitment and just that part of the spring, I sent out the AmeriCorps logo. If you need it again, just let me know. We do ask that you identify as a Homes for All AmeriCorps service site. Like I said, we will send you a sign. Members, we hope that they include the AmeriCorps logo in like their email signature when they're in service. We do provide gear. We obviously don't expect our members to wear their Homes for All shirt every day. Some members in the past, they've gotten really good at their decor with AmeriCorps. They may have a bulletin board with an AmeriCorps logo on it or a sticker, including it on their business cards, their lanyard. Maybe their lanyard has their office keys on it. So there are ways to identify as an AmeriCorps member without, having to wear the same shirt every single day. If we are able to provide name tags, we will try our best. I don't know if it fits into our budget this year, but maybe. Safety, anticipate and plan for any safety issues. Include your member in those safety plans. Maybe you do an annual training with employees and volunteers. Please include your members so that they also know how to handle certain specific situations. We do have a workers' compensation policy. There's a process. So if for some reason your member were to get injured while serving, you would need to notify me immediately, and I would send you the claim form to complete and submit to Kingy. If there's any concerns with your member's mental health or other situations that led to an overdose or the passing of the member, please inform us immediately. Standards of conduct, as part of your site supervisor manual that I sent out last week, you have a list of our program's standard of conduct. There's level 1, level 2, and level 3. So up front, you already know how we're going to handle violations of our standards of conduct and how we're going to remedy each level that's been violated. If there's been a violation of a standards of conduct, we do have a corrective action form that was also part of the site manual. Yeah, that's just, it's best to use our form for documentation if for some reason we need to communicate with our program officer of any issues that are happening at the site with the member. So it's best to use that form. We also created a performance-based plan. We call it the member action plan. So there may not be like a violation of a standards of conduct, but maybe it's a good point in time to visit ways that maybe your member could improve on some of the things that they are doing, just so that they succeed and kind of get back on track with having a positive experience at your site. In regards to removal from service, that has to happen at the program level. So that's why it's important to use the documents that we've provided for you. Documentation will be needed if for some reason a site comes to me and they're like, we no longer want to work with this individual. The first thing I'm going to ask is for documentation. And if there have been no corrective action plans completed before that point of communication with me, that's going to be our first step. So if that happens at any point in the program year, just call me, email me. let me know what's kind of going on. It's best to address any issues and concerns when you start to see them occurring. I know we talked about the living allowance increase as maybe a benefit that your organization is thinking about providing to the member. These are the new statements in our living allowance increase policy. So if your member exits service between the start of the program year and December 31st, HHCK will issue a refund of the balance of the remaining increased amount to the site. If the member exits service between January 1st and March 31st, we would issue a 50% refund of the unpaid balance. If a member exits service between April 1st and July 31st, that should say August 31st. I'm so used to writing July 31st because that's the program year we usually, anyways, there would be no refund issued to the site. So we just wanted to make sure that that was clear and in writing. It's also at the beginning or the top part of the living allowance increase form. So this isn't something that like I just expect you to remember. If this is a benefit that you're offering to your member that's going to be starting, it's right there on the form, but it's also in the service side agreement that we'll talk about in just a minute too. Okay, so wrapping up, next steps, the service side agreement, I will send it to you electronically in August. So that will need to be completed before your member starts. For new site supervisors, we will get you an account in America Learns. So you'll get that welcome email and it'll have you set up your password. If you are a new site or returning site supervisor that's not completed the AmeriCorps 101 or prohibited activities training through On3 Learns, I need that completion of certificate on file before your member starts. I'll send you instructions on how to set up your account and the code to use so you don't have to pay. It will be free of charge if you use the code that's listed on the instruction form. At least within the first 2 weeks of your member start date, you complete that member and site expectation agreement. And then site contribution invoices will go out once your member is placed in service. So quarterly payment plans are available. And with that, oh wait, quarterly payment plans, sorry, they're set up. They can be set up with me, but they can also be set up with Wendy Tucker, who's our director of finance. But her email is, I think, the next slide. So things to remember, the program year starts on September 1st officially. Members will likely be serving on September 2nd as their first day, since the 1st is a holiday, unless you and your member let me know that they are serving on the 1st. Member orientation will be a 1-day training on September 5th. Serve Kentucky will host the Kentucky AmeriCorps Accelerator training in October, which will be virtually. And then in the fall, we will have our site visits with you and your members, and I'll get to come visit you guys. Here's contact information for HHCK staff. Again, I'll be your main point of contact. If you have any questions in regards to site contribution and HHCK membership, Wendy Tucker is our director of finance. You can email her. And as this week goes on, once I wrap up site supervisor training, I will have the site manual and the forms that I referenced during the training uploaded to the HHCK website under the site and supervisor resource tab. So I'll stay on for a few minutes. If anybody has any questions, you can put them in the chat or you can unmute yourself. Otherwise, thank you so much for partnering with our program, and we can't wait for the year to start. Thanks, guys.